Pickup trucks were once work trucks, simple, sturdy, reliable. They weren't trying to be aggressive, they were just powerful. You could climb into one with dirty boots after a 12-hour shift, throw whatever you could get your hands on into the back, bags of cement, an old car engine, a broken refrigerator, and the truck would handle it. No unnecessary whining, no unnecessary electronics, no inflated price tag. It was a tool, not a toy. And what do we see now? Giant, bloated, useless monsters that are afraid of the slightest scratch. They look like tanks but act like capricious children. Huge, expensive, unwieldy. And the most offensive thing is that there is nothing real about them. Look at modern pickup trucks. Have you even seen what the hell that is? They're just huge. Not because anyone needs them. No. They've grown because manufacturers have figured out that the bigger the car, the cooler it feels to the buyer. People don't buy cars with their heads anymore, they buy them with their emotions. They see that giant hood, that front door-size grille, those headlights that seem to threaten to swallow up the other cars in the parking lot. And they think, yeah, that's powerful. But it's all empty. It's not power, it's not strength, it's fake. Modern pickups have lost their functionality. Previously, you could take an old Ford F-150 or Chevrolet Silverado, and it was a workhorse. Yeah, it was basic, but it got the job done. You could trust it. And now? Pickup trucks are so tricked out now that they're scary to use. You can't just throw something heavy in the bed because if you scratch the paint, that's it. Thousands of dollars in paint jobs. You can't drive properly in the mud because you're wearing urban 22-inch wheels that are more suited to expensive SUVs than utility vehicles. You can't even get into the truck properly because it's so tall that you need a step. And even the step is electronic now. It extends smoothly like in some luxury sedan. And also, you can't see anything in front of you. Seriously, this is just dangerous. You pull up to a crosswalk and you have to stream forward to even see if there's anyone there. These hoods have gotten so high that a grown man can stand in front of the car without the driver even noticing. That would have been impossible before. You used to be in a pickup truck and could see exactly what was going on around you. But now, you're sitting there like you're in a truck, hoping there's no one under your front wheels. And this isn't just my imagination. This is statistics. The number of pedestrian deaths due to the fact that drivers of modern pickup trucks simply don't see them is growing every year. Children, cyclists, people at crosswalks, they become victims of this stupid, senseless design. But okay, let's say you don't care about safety. Let's talk about money. How much did a normal working pickup truck cost before? $20,000, $30,000. A normal price tag, right? Now, $100,000, $120,000, $150,000. Is this a joke? That's more than a house costs in some regions. You used to be able to go out and buy a pickup truck to work in, but now? Pickups are bought by people who have never lifted anything heavier than their bank card. Pickups have become toys for those who want to seem, not be. And that's not all. Have you noticed that all new pickups are perfectly clean? You used to see a pickup truck and you knew this guy really works. Farmer, mechanic, builder. He always had dirt on the body, dents, traces of work. And now? Glossy body. Huge chrome elements, dark tinted glass, perfect wheels. Where is the work here? I recently saw a new Ram 1500 in a parking lot. It looked like it just came out of the showroom. Clean, shiny, not a single scratch. And the funniest thing is, the bed was covered. What's the point of a pickup truck if you don't even use the bed? It's just an expensive show-off truck. You used to see a pickup truck and you knew this guy works with his hands. Now you see a pickup truck and you understand this person just wants to seem cooler. This is what annoys me the most. Modern pickups are not about utility, not about work, not about reliability. They have become status toys. And they got worse, much worse. Why did pickup trucks become so gigantic? When you see a new pickup truck, do you even understand how it got so big? Pickup trucks used to be compact, practical, and convenient. They didn't take up a lane and a half of traffic. You could park them safely, and they could still haul anything. But now, these trucks look like they were built for military operations. So why are they so bloated? Oh, the manufacturers had some clever reasons. 1. Bigger equals sign cooler. Automakers have figured out one simple thing. The bigger the car, the more emotion it evokes in buyers. People don't think rationally when they buy a pickup truck. They see a giant hood, huge wheels, headlights that stare at you like an angry animal. And their brain says, wow, that's powerful. But this is a deception. The truck didn't get any more powerful. It didn't get any better at towing. It didn't get any more durable. It just got bigger to look cooler. 2. Bigger equals sign safer? No. Manufacturers like to say, we've increased the size for your safety. Ha! Whose safety? Yes, the pickup driver now sits higher and feels like the king of the road. But you know who's in danger now? Everyone else. These cars have become so huge that they simply crush everything in their path. A collision with an ordinary passenger car? A pickup truck won't even feel the impact, but the driver of a small car will be in intensive care. A pedestrian at a crosswalk? The impact goes straight to the chest or head and not to the legs, as with older models. And the funniest thing is that pickups have not become safer for the drivers themselves. They are heavier, which means the chances of survival in rollover accidents are lower. They are higher, which means the center of gravity is worse. Again, there is a higher chance of rolling over. So what do we have? The pickup driver feels protected, but in reality he's just become more dangerous to those around him. 3. More equals sign, more expensive equals sign, more profit. You think automakers make bigger trucks for no reason? No, my friend. It's a business. The bigger the pickup, the more it weighs. The more it weighs, the harder it is to classify it as a regular car. Now guess what that gives you? That's right, less taxes and less regulation. In the US, for example, there are laws that more strictly regulate fuel economy and CO2 emissions for regular cars. But if your pickup is big enough, it suddenly becomes a truck. And trucks can be sold with fewer restrictions. What does this mean for automakers? Huge, stupid, gluttonous machines that can be sold without any problems. But that's not all. The bigger the pickup, the more unnecessary options you can cram into it. Have you ever wondered why a work truck needs a huge 15-inch touchscreen? Or why, instead of a simple gear selector, there is now a fancy knob like in luxury cars? Or why a car that is supposed to drive in the dirt needs a leather interior that you are afraid to get dirty? The answer is simple: money. The more bells and whistles a car has, the more it can sell for. The more useless features it has, the more money you can squeeze out of the buyer. You used to be able to buy a simple pickup for $25,000, $30,000. Now, if you want at least some normal equipment, get ready to pay $80,000, $100,000. 4. But they became more comfortable. So what? Yes, modern pickups have become similar to luxury SUVs. But is that a good thing? A pickup truck used to be a work truck. You could get into it with dirty clothes, you could haul building materials, you could use it on the farm. Now, try working in a pickup truck for $100,000. You're afraid of getting the interior dirty. You're afraid of scratching the body. You're afraid your tools will leave marks on the leather seats. So what's the bottom line? These cars are now bought not for work, but for show. Have you ever seen a new Ford F-150 Raptor with real mud on the body? No, because the owners of such cars don't even come close to real off-roading. Why? It's an expensive toy. 5. But they have become more powerful is a lie. You might say, well, okay, but the engines are more powerful. Okay, let's figure this out. Pickups used to have V8s, big, simple, reliable. They lasted forever. Now we are being sold turbocharged V6s or 4-cylinder engines. Manufacturers say it's more economical, but what happens in reality? These engines break down faster. Turbines do not like hard work. They heat up, break down, and require expensive repairs. What about hybrids? Yes, there are hybrid pickups now, but why? Who really wants to tow a battery-powered trailer? And most importantly, modern V6S guzzle gas just like old V8S. Only reliability is worse now. Conclusion: pickups are artificially inflated. Manufacturers didn't make them bigger because people wanted them. They made them bigger because it made more money. They made them more dangerous because it made it easier to sell a sense of safety. They made them more expensive because show-off sells better than practicality. And most importantly, they made them worse. A pickup truck used to be a tool. Now it's just an expensive, useless toy. How pickup trucks lost their soul. You know what's most offensive? Pickup trucks were real once. They didn't try to be cooler than they were. They didn't show off in front of their neighbors. They didn't have to advertise. They just worked. But if you look at modern pickups, where is that aura of reliability? Where is that simplicity? Where is that raw, honest power? Everything is gone. Manufacturers have taken the soul away from pickups. 1. Pickups have become too complicated. One of the main reasons why old pickup trucks were so cool was that they could be fixed in any garage. Your carburetor is broken? Open the hood, turn a couple of nuts, and off you go. Problems with the wiring? A couple of minutes with a multimeter, and you found the problem. But what is happening now? Try fixing a modern pickup truck. You open the hood, and what do you see? A ton of plastic. You can't even get to the engine properly. Everything is covered with covers, a bunch of unnecessary sensors, kilometers of wires. Will you try to replace the spark plugs yourself? Ha! You'll have to remove half the attachments. Do you know what's funniest? The computer won't let you fix the car yourself. You can't just replace a part. You have to register it in the system. You can't just change the battery. The truck will start yelling at you with errors. Everything is tied to electronics. Everything is protected from ordinary users. Before, you had a set of keys and you could take apart the entire engine. And now? You need a diagnostic scanner, access to proprietary software, and $500 just to get the mechanic to allow you to replace the broken part. That's progress for you. 2. Unnecessary technologies that make everything worse. Remember when pickup trucks used to be simple? He sat down, turned the key, started the engine, and drove off. And now, you can't even start the engine. First, you have to press the button, but only if you have the key fob in your pocket. But if the battery in your key fob is dead, that's it, you're trapped. And this is just the beginning. Touchscreen instead of normal buttons. Why should I go into the menu just to turn on the seat heating? Why can't I leave normal physical switches? Electronic gear selector. Before, you just moved the lever and that was it. Now you have either a knob or buttons or some other goddamn thing. Electronic assistance. Cameras, parking sensors, blind spot sensors. Cool, right? But in old pickups, this was not necessary because you simply saw the road normally. And now the hood is so high that you don't even understand what's in front of you until the sensors start beeping. And the funniest thing is that all these technologies break down. You used to be able to drive your old Chevy for decades. How long will a modern pickup truck with a bunch of sensors, cameras, and automated systems last? Correct answer: until the first serious breakdown. 3. Where did the real strength go? Have you ever seen an old Ford F-250 or a Dodge 90s Ram? These vehicles were tanks. They were made of thick metal. They could withstand years of work without problems. They did not rust after 2 years. And now, modern pickup trucks are made from tin cans. You slam the door and feel everything rattle. You throw a couple of bricks at the back of the truck and you can already see the dents. Yes, manufacturers say, but aluminum is lighter. Lighter, yes, but it is not as durable. Old pickups could be used for decades. New pickups start to rust and fall apart after just a few years. And it doesn't just seem that way, it's a fact. Take a look at the forums of new pickup truck owners. There are a lot of complaints about the quality of materials. And this is the main problem. 4. Manufacturers don't want to make reliable cars anymore. Why make a reliable pickup truck that will last 20 years? It's not profitable. It is profitable for the car to break down in 5, 7 years, so that the buyer is forced to go to the car dealership again and buy a new model. And what do we get? Engines that are designed for 150, 200,000 miles, not a million. Thin body panels that bend from a slight impact. Electronics that break after a couple of years and cost crazy money to repair. This is all part of the plan. Manufacturers don't want your pickup truck to last forever. They want you to buy a new car every few years. 5. But they have more functions. So what? Are you really saying that all this unnecessary technology is an improvement? Do you really think that a huge touchscreen, leather interior, and electric running boards are what make a pickup truck better? No, it makes it more expensive. This makes it less reliable. This makes it less practical. Before, you could just open the door, get in the car, and drive. And now? Now you go to the pickup and it says, "Hello, connect your account, check for system updates, agree to the privacy policy, enter your PIN to change settings." This is not a car. It's a phone on wheels. Conclusion: pickup trucks have lost their soul. They used to be honest workhorses. Now they're just flashy toys with a bunch of unnecessary features. And it's not just sad, it's infuriating. Price? Are you kidding? Have you ever wondered how much a modern pickup truck costs? Not just a normal pickup truck, but one that's supposed to be the best, the coolest, the most powerful. If so, you've probably noticed how that question makes you twitch. Personally, I can't stop being amazed at how expensive pickup trucks have become. It's not just a step up in price, it's a literal leap over the abyss. How much is a new Ford F-150, for example? If you're going to get a mid-spec one, be prepared to shell out $50,000, $60,000. That's not peak. That's average, you know. If you want something with normal options, a decent engine, a comfortable interior, normal technology, and most importantly, some minimum load capacity, then consider that you'll have to shell out. But wait, that's not all. Let's say you want to get a pickup truck with a more advanced configuration, for example, with a reinforced suspension, improved electronics, and a turbocharged engine. Prepare to pay $80,000, $90,000. Yes, that's exactly it. If you choose a model with a high level of finishing with leather seats, the latest technology, and bells and whistles, then the price can easily exceed $100,000. And this is no longer surprising. This is just a new reality. Have you ever thought that for this amount of money you could buy a mobile home, or even a multi-room apartment in a small city? Or maybe some luxury sports car that will be twice as fast and many times more comfortable than this pickup truck, which, frankly, is too big for ordinary city life. 2. Why have pickup trucks become so expensive? Maybe you've wondered what's so special about these pickups that they cost as much as a new spaceship? It's just a truck, right? But let's break it down. Firstly, the size affects the cost. Modern pickups are simply gigantic. They are no longer just workhorses that can squeeze into narrow yards or park in standard parking lots. Pickups have become real monsters that barely fit on narrow city roads. As crude as it may sound, their size no longer makes sense for normal use in urban conditions. And the larger the car, the more material, the more expensive the production. It's just physics. And now you're paying not only for the car itself, but also for its size, which, in fact, is often not needed at all. Secondly, the equipment. Let's face it, the truck has long since become a comfortable vehicle for the upscale buyer, which only looks like a work vehicle. We all know that pickups are now equipped with a bunch of electronics, touch screens, cameras, parking assistants, a system for assisting with continuous overtaking, automatic seats, and other nice things. Nobody needs all this technology in a car that is supposed to be a workhorse, but it gives manufacturers the opportunity to blatantly raise prices. Because what? Yes, it becomes more profitable to sell expensive toys. People will pay more if they are gifted with an improved navigation system, seat ventilation, and a leather interior. Thirdly, it's all marketing. But this, my friends, is a whole other story. Marketers have long understood that pickups are not just trucks. They are a status symbol. Previously, A pickup was bought exclusively for work, for transporting heavy loads, for use in rural areas. Now, it is a car for showing off, and it definitely has to look so that everyone around can see. Here is a person who does not spare money to go out in a stylish new pickup with a powerful engine that breaks stereotypes and stands out on the road. And to emphasize this, the price of the pickup is inflated to the limit. Manufacturers understand that a buyer who cares about image will not skimp on money. 3. Loaded trucks? No more needed. Here's another incredibly absurd thing. Pickup trucks used to be bought to carry cargo. They were needed by farmers, builders, people who really often carry bricks, lumber, tools, equipment. And now, where are these cars going? To the parking lot in the city center. Do you need this huge payload capacity so you can haul a couple of IKEA chairs in the back? Of course not. But the price of a pickup truck is still inflated because that's what the manufacturers want. Because they can squeeze this production capacity into advertising slogans and factor it all into the price. 4. Comparison with competitors. Haven't you seen the price of the Ram 1500 yet? Oh yeah, it's almost the same thing. They basically make pickups in the same class and compete with the F-150 for the title of the coolest but most pointless monster. And the price of these vehicles is also sky high, when in fact, you're buying the same truck but with minor cosmetic upgrades and other stupid bells and whistles. That's when you ask yourself, what for? Why pay for things you absolutely don't need and that actually only make the car less practical? 5. The price of service? It's something else. Now imagine that you bought yourself a pickup truck like this for $80,000. Okay, so you drive around the city, take your friends on trips, go to the country, maybe throw some things in the back. And then the moment of truth comes. Service. You do understand that nothing lasts forever, right? Every modern pickup with a bunch of electronics and the latest systems requires expensive maintenance. If you have problems with electronics, you can be left without a car for several weeks until you get serviced at a certified service, which, of course, will charge you an exorbitant amount of money. These trucks are so loaded with unnecessary stuff that they are incredibly expensive to maintain. Repairing a screen, replacing a tire pressure sensor, or fixing the climate control will cost you so much money that you will definitely curse the day you decided to buy this car. Conclusion: what are we paying for? Have you ever wondered what you're actually paying these exorbitant amounts of money for? For comfort, for status, for show-offs? For the convenience of parking in the city center? No, my friend. You're paying to be told a huge price for a car you simply don't need. The manufacturers have certainly done their best to make you think you're getting something unique. But in reality, it's all just marketing, backed by the harsh reality that you're overpaying. So, if you're going to get a new truck, think twice. Because in the end, you won't get what you think you're getting. Fake brutal. Let's talk about how pickup trucks have become real fakes. These are the cars that look tough, strong, powerful. But once you get behind the wheel, you realize that it's just tinsel. It's like trying to put on a superhero costume and forget that there is no real strength underneath. All these brutal pickups with aggressive radiator grills, big wheels, and powerful engines are just an illusion that has more style than practicality. Brutal in appearance every year, so huge, with wide wheels and headlights that stick into the asphalt, you understand that they are getting closer and closer to show-off cars than to real workhorses. And the funniest thing is that those who buy these cars do not even realize that they are falling for this marketing. Pickups that were once built for work have now become status symbols. Those who are not afraid of dirt, who are not afraid of everything. But in reality, this machine will never see even dust on its bed. Look at these urban brutals with huge wheels that boast their exhaust, roar, and style. But in reality, they do not even know what a real load is. 1. Design for design's sake. Let's start with the fact that the appearance is generally the first thing that catches your eye when you look at modern pickup trucks. And frankly, They don't look like work trucks, but like cars for getting in and declaring, "I'm a guy who can afford this." Let's take a look at the front grille. It's not just a grille anymore, but something that looks like it can break everything in its path, like it's ready to crash into you at speed and then push you back out without realizing what happened. Seriously, it looks like a militarized, oversexed monster that would be more suited to a movie about the future than a real car. It's all so overloaded with style elements that at some point you start to forget that this cool grille has anything to do with functionality, or these huge wheels with such wide tires that the car looks more like a tank than a truck. And the funniest thing is that when you drive around the city, a pickup truck with such wheels can't park anywhere. Yes, you will, of course, attract the attention of all passers-by, but parking for you turns into a test on the verge of a foul because you have nowhere to squeeze this monster. 2. Power but no load. Now let's look at the technical side. This thing with powerful engines. You look at the numbers that they show you in the advertising materials. Powerful turbocharged engines, huge torque, more than 400 GP. Well, is everyone convinced that this is a real monster on the road? But wait, have you ever stopped to think about how much of that powerful engine you actually use in the city? This isn't a race car, it's just a truck that drives on the same roads as all the other cars. And by the way, you don't need that power in the city unless you plan on off-roading or hauling heavy loads. Why do you need that huge turbocharger if you're just going to the supermarket for bread and milk? Yes, you can, of course, go out on the track, and the car will show you its true power. But will it really be used? Well, unless you go to a construction site, but even then all these kilowatts of power will be unreasonably expensive because you simply don't need them for everyday use. But if you actually start using such a machine for its intended purpose, then another question arises. How much can it withstand? How well will it cope with the real load that a real working pickup truck should transport? If you load the bed with a lot of building materials, you may suddenly find that your brutal pickup simply cannot handle it. 3. Enormous size and unreal inconvenience. If the appearance can somehow be justified, well, people like big style and power, okay? Then the size of these cars is a whole other story. Pickups are getting bigger and bigger every year. These are no longer just wide and massive cars. These are giants that literally do not fit in a parking lot. And to maneuver between rows of cars, you need to try something like maneuvering on a cargo ship. And this is really difficult when even the mirrors in your car do not fit between neighboring cars. Can you imagine that pickup trucks are so wide now that you have to check in advance if there is enough space in the parking lot to park this monster? These cars are not for the city. They may be able to cope with fields, mud, and hills, but in the urban jungle, no way. You go about your business trying to find a place, and in the end you spend 10 minutes just trying to figure out where to even go. But in the good old days, pickups were much more compact. Their dimensions were so convenient that they could actually be used in different conditions. 4. Who is all this for? And here's the big question. Who is this for? These oversized, aggressive pickups with their power, size, and design. Is this a real, everyday vehicle? No, that's an illusion. These are mostly pickups for those who want to show off their presence. These are vehicles that are unlikely to ever haul more than a few planks of wood, but they look like they could haul a full-size excavator. Pseudo-coolness first and foremost. This is not a real working tool. It is just a beautiful fake. Under the brutal shell, there is emptiness. You will not be able to use this car for real in any extreme conditions because it is simply not made for this. All it can do is look cool at the traffic lights. Well, and maybe get to the nearest supermarket, but that's it. Conclusion: brutality as a marketing gimmick. These brutal pickups are nothing more than a marketing gimmick that plays on people's emotions and need for status items. In reality, behind all those exhausts and aggressive body lines, There is just another empty shell that has nothing to do with the real power that would justify all those kilograms of iron and cost. So what to do now? You're probably sitting there thinking, well, I'm disappointed. What should I do now? We discussed how pickups have become huge, uncomfortable, overpriced, and completely useless in most situations. We concluded that underneath all this brutal appearance lies a fake, and all this show-off doesn't justify the cost. So what should we do? First, let's admit that you and I don't need to be so hung up on buying ourselves another expensive pickup truck. And if you do decide that you can't do without it, well, that's your choice. But I think you should think a little and reconsider your priorities. Let's say, if you want to look cool, there are much smarter ways to spend your money than on a car that can turn into a big headache. 1. Understanding your needs. Have you ever really asked yourself if you need a pickup truck? Before you open your wallet and pull out a large sum of money, you should ask yourself, what do I really want from it? Are you really going to haul building materials, or do you just want everyone to think that you at least work as a farmer with tractors? If your real desire is to have a machine that looks like a rugged piece of iron against the backdrop of mountainous landscapes, then perhaps you should consider whether you are throwing money away. I'm not saying a pickup truck is a bad car, but if you only need it to get a few glances at traffic lights and a few likes on Instagram, maybe you should switch to something less artificial. Is it possible to buy a car that does its job and doesn't suck money out of you like a crazy fan? Of course you can. Consider smaller, more practical SUVs. They can provide you with a good level of comfort, off-road capability, and won't burn your soul and your wallet every time you visit a car service center. 2. Choose economics, not show-offs. If you don't care about size and want real practicality, consider cars with good fuel-efficient engines and smaller dimensions. Modern SUVs like Subaru Outback, Toyota RAV4, or even small pickups like Nissan Frontier, which is suitable for the city, but can still carry everything you need. This is not just a cool toy, but a car for people who understand that money is not just to spend on external glitter. Real cars for real life cost reasonable money. You shouldn't pay for huge wheels, exhaust pipes, or tank-like looks if your life doesn't require you to drive on difficult off-road roads or constantly haul concrete blocks. Sometimes just a smart car and compact size is much more than all this charade of brutality. When you choose a car that serves you, rather than throwing money at something that just makes you look cool, you're already winning. 3. Weigh the pros and cons. Here's a tip. Before you buy into a car's looks or the manufacturer's latest promotion, do your research. Yes, marketers will try to convince you that you need this truck. They'll tell you it's a dream truck that can do anything. But look closer, and you'll see that it's more of a wrapper than a real product. So ask yourself the right questions. What do you need? Can I use all that power? How much will it cost to repair? Will I be able to park it in my own yard? Don't forget that buying a car isn't just about the initial price. It's also about operation, maintenance, taxes, and even insurance. And it often happens that even if you don't notice these huge, hidden costs at first, over time you realize that you've been ripped off at every turn. 4. If you want to show off, you can do it differently. If you can't resist the temptation to look like a guy who can afford it, there are alternative ways to do it. Why not look at the beautiful and stylish crossovers? They are the same status, but in a less pretentious and more practical package. There are great cars on the market now that look cool without having to pay for things you will never use in life, and they are much more convenient in size for everyday use. Personally, I would generally suggest in such cases to think about buying an electric car. Of course, these are even more expensive cars, but imagine how you will look in such a car. It is environmentally friendly, has status, and do not forget that this is a new reality in the world of cars. And most importantly, you will not pay for gasoline. Against the background of all these brutal pickups with their crazy prices and noise, an electric car will not only be practical, but also have the most modern approach to ecology. 5. In the end, choose a car for life, not for show-off. So what's the bottom line? What to do? I guess you won't be so quick to jump on every new ad about a turbocharged, space-age pickup truck. Maybe you'll start asking yourself, what do I really want from a car? You don't want to be one of those people who spends a ton of money on a truck you don't need just to impress. And all you get is a huge expense and endless parking hassle. When choosing a car, think about long-term value, practicality, and real utility. Choose something that will serve you and your needs, not something that will make you look like a superhero on the road. Life is not a race for show-offs. And if you choose a car that you really need, you will win much more than someone who is just bragging about his new, brutal toy.